one of my most memorable interviews was with Tori Amos, who came on the show. It's the year before last now, and it was when you had your Christmas album out, and you're back. And I'm glad you're back. It's great to see you. How are you?
It's great to see you, Janice. Doing really well.
Good. And you've been working hard.
Yes.
And you've produced what I think is one of the most exciting albums I've heard for a long time, Night of Hunters. And it's just so innovative. And it was, for you, was it something that was always in your head? Was it always there waiting to come out?
Well, it might have been waiting to come out, but I didn't know until Deutsche Grammophon came knocking.
Yes, this is the German classical record label, isn't it?
Yes, and they find you, you don't find them. I mean, it's one of those things. So they kind of tracked me down, and this doctor of musicology, who is German, said, would you consider composing a 21st century song cycle based on classical themes? And I thought, oh my goodness, that's such a tall order. I need to think about that.
So where did they get that idea from? Obviously we all know about your classical training, and there you were at the Peabody Institute, weren't you? And you were classically trained. So is that what they were thinking? She's got that in her?
She's got that in her, maybe. They thought that. I think they were aware that I was doing and have been doing the musical for 5 million years now, and maybe hoping that I would have a handle on narrative to tackle a song cycle.
Now, which did they pick the composers? Did you pick the composers that you were going to?
What happened was I said to Dr. Alexander Burr, I said, Dr. Burr, later, Alex, please, I need reams and reams of music to choose from, because all I know are the recital pieces that I played, and that's not what I want to pull from.
No.
I want to pull from, because I know enough about it to pull the right ones, not because it's the only ones I know. And so he would send me endless amounts. I was touring at the time, and I would get something new constantly. Therefore, I was building, you're building a garden in your mind of endless herbs and vegetables. So imagine this garden of music that you're building. And then as a chef, you're able to pull from all these ingredients to create something, each dish, but they had to interconnect. So I began seeing it as, when you make an album and you're writing songs, a lot of times, yes, they can connect with each other, but think about them as beach houses or chalets or log cabins if we're talking about sonic architecture. But a musical or a song cycle has really got to be a sonic cathedral. So I felt that the narrative would be inspired by a theme that I had heard, but then it needed to develop. Or the narrative would make me go search for something that I hadn't heard yet.
So you have the music in place. What's the inspiration for the narrative?
Well, when he said 21st century, I thought to myself, what are some subject matters that we need to talk about? And although there are wars going on all the time, I felt that there is another war that goes on, and that's between couples. And sometimes it doesn't get to war stage, it just gets to raw. And war backwards, of course, is raw. And I thought, okay, why do we take it to a place that can be so verbally brutal? And, we've all been there, no matter how much you love somebody. So that really became an idea, but I wanted to set it in a mystical place. All good song cycles usually have either demons or nature personified, and therefore I thought, well, let's bring nature into it. And what should she look like? And so I heard Tash in the shower one day, and I thought, hang on a minute, that sounds like an old blues singer. Maybe that could be Mother Nature.
And Natasha Tash, she was 10 when you recorded this album. And she has got this husky voice, hasn't she? Quite different from yours.
Very different.
But they reconcile. They're really good together.
Well, thank you. I think we have fun singing together. with my niece Kelsey as well, who's on the record. But Tash, she discovered the blues when she was 9. She said, I remember her saying to me, "Mummy, when I discovered the blues, it all started to make sense to me." I thought, well done.
And so the artists that you ended up going with, I mean, because there's this myriad, classical musicians making great stuff. How do you actually go, well, I'm going to have Satie, or I'm going to have Debussy, or a bit of Chopin, or whatever?
Well, I was open to any and all. I think there were some really circling. There was a Liszt piece, there was a Mozart piece. They were right there on the board. A Handel piece, but the Bach piece did what the Mozart piece needed to do for the narrative, and you only have so many slots for the story, and depending on, because I chose the Schumann piece, I needed the energy of the Bach piece. It conflicted with the Mozart piece, so sometimes it was the link that made me choose which one was going to do what. But it was the Schubert piece, the song that is called Star Whisperer on Night of Hunters, that once that got locked in, then all the others started to inform me of what they needed to be. Because that was sort of the centerpiece, and it was the first one that really worked. There were quite a few that just didn't work. And once that worked, then all the others began falling into place.
So you had the music in place and then the narrative came then, yes?
No, they came, I must be honest with you, Janice, it wasn't exactly like that. I think the story would drive what songs got picked sometimes, and then once something like Star Whisperer got slotted in, I would think, oh my goodness, I'm missing part of the plot line here. So other parts of the story would show themselves.
And this could transfer to stage, couldn't it?
Well, I think so. I'd love to see it choreographed.
Yeah,
with a dance.
I was thinking that, and I think it would work beautifully. But I'm coming along to see you at the Albert Hall, which you're doing. When are you doing the Royal Albert Hall? November the 2nd, coming along to that. Then you're doing the Hammersmith Apollo on the 3rd, Manchester Apollo on the 4th, Glasgow Royal Concert Hall on the 6th, Belfast Waterfront on the 8th, and then you're heading off to Dublin on the 9th. But it's got to be an award winner, this album. It really, really has. And, as I say, it's one of the most innovative things I've heard in a long time, and you must be so, so proud. Now, we're launching something on this show. I read some poetry out. There's a taxi driver, right, Michael? Taxi driver, London taxi driver, and he writes poetry, and he leaves it on the back seat. So when you're in his cab, you can, read what he's written that week. Very good. Read out one of his poems, and we had a huge response. So we decided that we'd like to have the spoken word on the programme. It could be prose or it could be poetry, and we couldn't think of anybody better than you to do our first one for us. And you've chosen something. Well, it's very unusual, and it's been a learning curve for me, because I've had to find out about Edouard Bouba.
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm just finding out about him too, Janice. So it's not as if this is something I've been carrying around.
She's so clever, that woman.
Yeah, no. I just received this for my birthday in August. I received this art book from a colleague and friend, and I was just so taken with this French photographer's process. And when I read that he was a poet, a poet as well as a photographer, I was hooked. And so he did this photograph.
It's an amazing photograph.
Isn't it?
It's breathtaking. Describe it, if you would.
Oh, how do I describe it? Okay, imagine just after France has been liberated. So this is taken in 1946. And as I see it, it's a little girl whose family, there's no way, I realize everyone was strapped for cash. And can you imagine mothers? There are no princess dresses. I mean, there's no Disney store where you can get Sleeping Beauty's dress or anything like that. And somebody has made her a little cape of dead leaves. And this is the little dead leaf princess with her worn shoes and unbrushed hair, but she is an adorable princess, about 3 years old, and she's just standing. We don't see her face. Very elfin, could be on her way to see Galadriel.
Yes,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But my French is no good, so Jardin du Luxembourg, yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
That's right.
Do we
and
read
we'll
this?
put that photograph, that photograph.
Could we?
We'll put it on the website so people will know exactly what you've, been talking about. They can actually see it for themselves.
Yeah.
But that was a beautiful description. And it is a very moving photograph.
Yeah, it really is. And could you get your readers to help me out here so I don't embarrass myself when I'm in France? Do I say Boubat or is it Boubat?
Well, I say Bouba. I say Edouard Bouba. But who knows?
And you say it so well, Janice.
Merci.
Okay, do we go?
Yes,
do
if you would, Tori.
Okay. Little Girl with Dead Leaves, Paris, France, 1946. Little Girl with Dead Leaves was indeed my first photograph. But where are our first photographs? These lights that shine in our childhood memories. I was walking through the Jardin du Luxembourg after the war in 1946. I had a Rollet camera that I'd bought by selling my big dictionaries. I was still 20 years old. I was a poet. I was in love. And of course, I wasn't thinking about any of that at all. When your life is all ahead of you, all you want to do is live. And then years have passed by. The leaves fall every autumn. You don't say no to beauty. You don't say no to opportunity. When you found something once, can you ever give it up again? The photo just happened. Just one. A very pale negative developed in a makeshift lab. Am I still 20 years old today? Am I still in love? If I say yes, I still have a chance of finding that light. I sometimes walk through the Jardin du Luxembourg, and I have never seen another little girl dressed in dead leaves. Every little girl is a little girl for the first time, and everyone and everything I meet are just as I saw them for the first time. There is no such thing as a first photo. There are only new photos. The light is brand new today.
That was beautiful, absolutely brilliantly done. Thank you so much, Tori Amos.